closure that are necessary. When the Supreme Court of Hawaii wanted to sell 1.2 million acres of Hawaiian homelands without lodial title, as the king, I was responsible to stop it. So I took the 50-page document that the United States Federal District Court in Honolulu, Hawaii, through the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court judges all went to Washington, D.C. to go up against John Roberts and the 8 Supreme Court judges and argue why they had the right to sell 1.2 million acres of Hawaiian homelands. And I went ahead and I took the 50 pages and I syntaxed them, and there wasn't one legal sentence in the entire 50 pages. It was just written in adverb verb. And it only took 6 sentences to articulate the fictitious conveyance of language and the damage that was caused because they don't have lodial, L-O-D-I-A-L. Location, D-I is original, A-L is contract. No location, original contract to sell Hawaiian land. And the post office doesn't have jurisdiction because they never had the correct sentence structure communication syntax on any treaty, trust, or contract with the Hawaiian people since Cook landed there in 1789. That totally wiped out all claims that the United States government has against the Hawaiian people. And so with that information, the United States Supreme Court reprimanded the Supreme Court of Hawaii that you people are illiterate, you can't read and write, and you tried to perpetrate a fraud against us, go home. You don't have lodial title, you can't sell the land. So with 6 sentences and a 2-day head start, I went in the back door because I got fast-tracked to the Supreme Court of the United States because of who I am, as a plenipotentiary judge with mathematical syntax, and I defeated them in 1 page. And if I can do it to the Supreme Court, and they have standing to take a Supreme Court of another court and knock them down, then the language that sets precedents, that syntax has jurisdiction over all fiction. And it does. So you guys have the power and the ability to go out there and use this technology successfully. Question?
Why would the court system choose to recognize that? Why wouldn't they just dismiss it?
3 + 3 = 6, doesn't it?
Don't know.
You'd be a fool to say it equals anything else but 6 because you would embarrass yourself.
Okay. Right.
They would have to confess that they can't read and write. If they can't read and write, guess what they did? They cheated on their high school exams. They never passed English. They cheated on their college exams. They never graduated from college. They never graduated from law school. They cheated on the civil service exam, which is misappropriation of their paychecks from the taxpayer, which is a Title 18, Section 641 through 664, misappropriations of taxpayers' money to extort money while engaged in criminal activity under Title 18, Section 1001, mail fraud under Title 18, Section 1341, and Chapter 15, which is the penalty for fictitious conveyance of language, Title 15, Chapter 2B, Section 78FF carries a $25 million fine and 30 years in prison to fictitiously convey language to extort rights from a citizen. And I got your signed confession. Feel lucky today?
Are we getting a copy of this tape?
Yeah. It's not, folks, on the back of my business card is the whole procedure how to prosecute judges and attorneys. It's already written there for you. With those small points of law and the expanded definitions in my book and on my website, you can stop a charging elephant. Just take away his charge card. Question? Oh, go ahead.
When you're talking about prosecuting judges, but if you go to say a lower level, if it's just a corporation that you might be in dispute with, different levels, like for instance, like you might have arbitration, how far do you have to take it, or how far can it go if you lose, say, the arbitration, or you might lose a district court hearing because they might not understand, for instance, what you give some of these people, they don't understand, just think, this guy's, what is this guy on? You know, don't understand.
Oh, they're going to play the dummy up game with you, but don't worry about that. When you go to corporation, you're not in the law in the courtroom. Now they have their public opinion. They lose their business, they go out of business, right? That costs money. So you sit down and you say, hey, Mr. Corporation, I just syntaxed your corporate charter, which made you a corporation. Guess what? Your charter is written in adverb verb, which means the Secretary of State who gave you your corporation status can't read and write, and you don't have a corporation. You've now sold stock to the general public through the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is a lie and constitutes mail fraud. Through fraudulent conveyance of language, goes back to a Title 15, Chapter 2B, Section 78FF, and you got a $25 million fine and 30 years in prison. How much money do I need? I need like a couple $1,000 dispute here, but you're facing over here criminal charges of $25 million. And I've got your signed confession that you messed all this up, that you got fraudulent contracts that you've given to the public, and you've interfaced using federal currency while engaged in criminal activity. I have a signed confession for all of this. You feel lucky today? Now, let's negotiate a friendly settlement here. I'll let you live, you let me live. You think that their lawyer, who carries a $3 million blanket insurance policy that they just hired to buffer them from the facts, is going to touch something when syntax? He can't even go to the judge. No judge will take the case because he becomes a co-conspirator to support the attorney, and the insurance company is going to cancel their insurance policies, which means they can't practice. They lose their job. Then the corporate is sitting there and he doesn't have any backup now. No attorney will touch the company because they're dirty and you got to sign confession for it.
What is the signed confession?
The signed confession is the fact that their charter of how to do business is written in adverb verb and doesn't have standing. They don't have a trust to run their company. And the syntax proves that they lied from A to Z, president all the way down to the room sweeper.
So could you, when you say like looking at it from a case, when you say go to the charter of the company, could that work the same for their, say, terms and conditions?
Exactly.
Of there. So if you sign the terms and conditions agreeable to whatever it was, if those terms and conditions, once again, you syntax.
Right.
They
Okay,
don't
here's what he's saying. You get hired at a company and it says these are the terms and conditions of your employment. And then they go ahead and a lawyer wrote it, and because you guys know syntax now, you can go ahead and correct that and say the lawyer lied to the company. You have the power to go ahead and syntax the fact that these are not fair rules and regulations. But before you go back to the company, you want to prosecute them for a lie, make sure you've got the solution. I didn't come here to Australia and say, your Constitution is written in adverb verb and says nothing is a lie. I went ahead and I syntaxed it. I showed you this is a lie. It's got 200% fraud, and I wrote a brand new Constitution. I gave you a replacement that was far better than the original to give you the guarantees of your faith, your religion, freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of travel.
Who did you give it to?
Say again?
Who did you give it to?
It's published on the internet. You've had it here for 9 months already. Everybody can download it off my website. It's free. Yeah, we'll give it. He's got a copy. Don't think that for a second that the courts didn't pull that thing off of the internet. My website gets beaten up hundreds of thousands of times by people all over Australia. I got caller ID.
So if you're in dispute, you could syntax their terms and conditions that they're holding you,
right,
to. You would have to rewrite it in the truth and give it to them, say this is what it should be.
Right. In other words, it's proving that you have the intelligence to say this is a lie and I can prove it's a lie and this is what it should say. Now, I should be paid for the work that I did to write this. You know what the second highest paid job outside of brain surgery is? Contract writing. People that can write in contract get paid $500 to $1,000 an hour in syntax. And you know what? 2012 is just around the corner, and we got 400 million people now studying. When we get 51% of the vote, this entire planet is going to have a new shift in dynamics of learning how to read and write in syntax, because sooner or later, not only is this planet going to unify its ability to communicate mathematically in syntax on contracts, but somebody's going to come knocking from another planet. And if we lied to them, they're going to throw a stone on us the size of Texas moving 50,000 miles an hour, or we can have a truthful communications with another world, another planet, under commerce and be truthful, where they don't look at us as being a lying, cheating threat to their existence. You see? So there is rules and regulations. Don't forget, there are no accidents. No matter where you go, there you are, and wherever you are, that's where you're supposed to be. It takes time. It's taken 22 years now to get to this seminar since Syntax was introduced to the world. And I'm the only guy standing up here, and Steve over there now, that are doing seminars. Worldwide. We're the only two guys. But the videotapes and webcasts on Skype and GoToMeeting and radio shows and TV shows are helping promote this on a global basis and making everybody aware. How long did it take for you guys to find out that Michael Jackson died? 15 minutes after he was dead? I mean, YouTube, Google, Yahoo, AOL. I mean, the entire planet, 6 billion people knew about it 15 minutes after he died because he was popular. So the world is becoming very small. Everybody's cell phone rang and said, here's the news. Everybody that was on a computer, no matter what channel you were on, it bleeped in. No matter what channel you were watching on TV, it bleeped in. The whole world knew about it in 15 minutes. Well, Syntax is going to be the same thing when it goes pop. One day the TV is going to turn on, and no matter what channel you go to, all 200 channels are going to say, we're going to have a dynamic shift, and you people are going to have to learn Syntax because the whole world is shifting communications. We're going to have a one world order of truth, correctness, one world money of correctness. The wars are going to stop. We're going to have balance and prosperity. And we can do it because we're going to be honest and correct. And then you guys can go to bed at night and not worry about somebody dropping a nuke on you tomorrow because you got correctness. And that's what we all want. That's what we're all learning. Question?
I think we knew before Michael knew, actually.
Say again?
I think we knew before Michael knew that he died.
Oh.
Given the statements on contract and Lodial title, where do we stand then with our title deeds for land ownership here, given the fact that this place was never invaded or treated?
You've never had the correct sentence structure, communication, syntax, treaty on any land contract or mortgage in the history of this country's writing.
So why the hell am I paying rates?
Because if you don't, they will move you off the land and put somebody else there.
That's not very nice. How do we fix that?
Well, it's going to be fixed when enough people are educated and you vote in Syntax. See, right now, we're not here to break the system. We're here to educate and correct. When I did this, when I originally said to my mom and dad, I'm going to go out in the world and I'm going to teach this, they said, don't complain about the government because you don't have anything to replace it with. You can't tell somebody he's a liar if you don't have the truth in your hand. I couldn't call Judge Wasilewski a liar because I didn't know what his truth was or what my truth was because I was misled. So I had to go out and spend 74,000 hours to get to where we are today to have a correctness at a mathematical level so I could rewrite the United Nations Constitution, Australia's, New Zealand, America's, Hawaii, and anybody else in the world that wanted a corrected constitution.
So in the short term, there's nothing we can do to get
we don't have the numbers
to your own personal piece of dirt. There's nothing that we can do at this moment.
Well, you can study, be prepared, learn how to be a writer, because when this thing takes place, the government's going to say anybody that can read and write in Syntax and do corrections and learn how to program a computer, we have immediate employment for you. Wages are probably going to start at about $100 an hour and up based on how much experience you have. And the whole planet's going to get rewritten. They do not, I keep getting emails, when is somebody going to write a program to rewrite the internet that fast, to go from adverb, verb to syntax? Well, like I said, 900 variables for one word, 2 is 81,000, and so on. The computers can't do what my brain does. Stephen over there can do it. Russell Gould can do it. Greg Bartell can do it. And 100 other guys up in the United States that I've been trained. They can all do it and do it efficiently. And when you guys learn it, it just opens up your whole world. You can see a lie. You have X-ray vision over everything. And it's a lot of fun. Then nobody can screw around with you anymore. The cops won't stop you. The courts don't want you in there. Every time I have a court case down here that I'm supposed to testify in or defend, they cancel the hearing because I booked an airline ticket. And when I was supposed to testify, what they did, yeah, because I'm involved in a bunch of cases down here. So what they do is they schedule the hearings when I'm out over the Pacific in a plane, can't even talk on the phone. They just say, you will be here in 24 hours while Dave's in the air, and we're going to hold the trial today. So when he gets here, it's all done. Doesn't change the evidence. Under the 72-hour rule, after I land, I can go back in there and nail him under syntax. Takes me just a couple minutes to go ahead and syntax the entire lawsuit, drop an amicus curiae or a complaint in court, and say, you guys lied, I have your signed confession. Thanks for all the arrows in my quiver.
Thank you.
Next question, Gary.
Just a few questions to satisfy my ignorance. Thank you,
Sure.
David. Number one, the syntax language currently is in English. Will it be in any other languages?
Yes, my website was written in French, German, Spanish, and Italian.
Any
And
others?
just recently, our bandwidth was knocked down when we changed carriers, so I got to put it back up again. But when we wrote the German version, I had university professors from Germany just screaming at me, you can't do that. You disqualified all of our books in our universities and our Constitution because you wrote that and you put it up there. What are we going to do with all of our school materials? I says, fix it.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is, are you proposing syntax language to be the one language for New World Order?
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with a New World Order that's correct where nobody can go to war anymore because you all know how to do things correctly. As long as you've got two, you're going to have controversy. So a New World Order is not a bad thing, provided you have your freedoms to travel, your freedoms to communicate, to write, your faith. And then it's not going to be any guesswork as to where you stand in that faith because you're going to have a law that protects you with syntax.
Thank you for that, mate. I appreciate that. Just one final part. Is this also the reason why the Masons also want to continue with syntax language as well? Are they in line with the New World Order as well?
Yes, they're the ones been pulling the strings on the New World Order for 8,500 years.
Okay.
Now, having the Masonic teachings is no different than any of the religions in the world. To teach you the difference between good and evil, how to manage people. Because for every 97 followers, you've got 3 chiefs. It's always 3% manages 97%. That ratio hasn't changed since the caveman.
Okay.
And the cream always floats to the top.
And you mentioned good and evil on the lower levels, but on the higher levels, you still talk the same good and evil as well on the very high
The
levels?
syntax separates the wheat from the chaff.
Yes.
There isn't anybody anywhere on this planet today, I don't care how high up in the Illuminati they are, that I can't prove they lied. And I don't have any restrictions as to how high up I go. You know, the Supreme Court of Australia had their Supreme Court judge put on the World Court at The Hague. Guess who pulled him off The Hague? I did. I filed a lawsuit against him for apartheid against the Aborigines. And he was kicked out of The Hague because he didn't protect the people he was supposed to in his own country. And I had a signed confession, and that's why they kicked him out of The Hague. And that's why Queen Elizabeth pulled my passport here and had me arrested when I set foot in Australia. So, in retaliation, I took the Magna Carta and I syntaxed it. It's written in adverb verb and says nothing. Did you know in World War II, Hitler sent 240 stormtroopers over to destroy the Magna Carta. And 340 crack British troops defeated them. Several hundred men died in that battle. And it was to destroy the Magna Carta. Both sides thought that this was, if we can destroy the Magna Carta, would destroy the English Empire. In the English world, well, when I syntaxed it, it was destroyed. It was never there. 1215, written in adverb verb by Cromwell. Never said anything in the first place. And what they did is they promoted this lie throughout history. We wrote the Declaration of Independence. Thou was an adverb, making declare. D meaning no, clare means speaks, shun is contract. No spoken contract. Of independence, in, no, D, no, pen, write, ants, contract. No, no, write contract, no, no, speak contract. And then they wrote it, we the people. Pronoun, adverb, verb. You can be a pronoun as a we or a verb as a people. That's why we have a verb court, a verb fact, and a verb law, because you're verb people. And when we syntaxed the Constitution of the United States, it said nothing. That's where I wrote a new Constitution and published it. They still can't take their lie and shove it down our throats because we've proved the lie, we've proved the fact. And when you put them both together,